Hi, my name is Rayana Ragan, and you're watching The Bubble.
I heard from the priest at the end of the road that we only ever get what we deserve. So I ran home to mama and I said to her, why, mama, why?
So I started in music from a super young age. I always had a really intense interest in it. I have a memory, I was probably 3 years old and I was holding on to a toy Elmo, and I think I had maybe like a hairbrush in my hand, and I was singing along to some like 90s R&B song into the TV that was blacked out. So I was looking at my reflection and I was envisioning myself performing on TV, performing this song. And so it kind of started from that young age with things like that, where I always had a passion for it. It didn't really become a career endeavor until earlier this year, actually. I really decided to take the plunge and start releasing my EP, Godless, which has been coming out song by song. So I'm doing kind of a slow release that I've stretched out over 5 months. But yeah, just a lot of time spent in vocal lessons and just trying to kind of create who I am as an artist before actually putting out music, so that I had a clear, defined idea of who I was before putting it out. Yeah, it's just always been something that I've wanted to do, but I finally found the gall to do it. It was just kind of, now felt like the right time because it was kind of now or never. I wasn't gonna wait until I was 60 to finally put out music, and I'd already passed the point of doing it when I was younger, so it just felt like so much time was kind of being wasted sitting on my hands just trying to decide, do I or don't I, that I just decided to finally do it. I guess the big defining moment for me was in 2015. I got a DM from Infected Mushroom wanting to sample me for their track, and I had no vocal training at this point. I was putting out like acoustic covers. This is back before stories, back when you could only do 15-second videos on your timeline. And I was putting out these little acoustic covers, and they saw one and they reached out. And so that was, I guess, the first moment where I was like, maybe I could actually make a career out of this. I spent the next then couple of years sitting on my hands trying to decide if I actually had the nerve to make that jump. But yeah, I found some amazing vocal coaches who really helped me out along the way, and then finally it just became the point of like, I've been investing so much time and thought and energy into making myself the best that I could be. I gotta do it if I'm gonna do it. My father used to be a fashion photographer, my mom used to be a model, so I grew up backstage at shoots and behind the camera on shoots, backstage at runway shows. So I've always had that kind of ingrained in me. For acting though, I take my acting classes, I go to my auditions, I do my self-tapes, I work on myself that way. For singing, it's the vocal lessons and the writing the music and the sessions and all those things. So there's so much effort to put in for each one that if I don't put forth all that effort, that I'm just not going to succeed in that field. So yeah, I mean, they all also fill up my creative cup in such a different way that I can't necessarily say that one is getting all my attention more so than the others. Obviously, I love music and I love singing, and that's something I'm very excited about pursuing. But I'm pursuing everything pretty equally, again, because it just does such different things for me creatively.
You set my soul on fire, put my love with life. Did I mean nothing to you? Replay the memories, you steal away my peace. By this hatred I'm consumed.
Like every single part of everything that I do as a musician, I'm hands-on in, partially because music is the one career that I'm endeavoring in where I actually have complete creative control, so I actually get a little bit high on that. Yeah, I guess I grew up with such an eclectic library of music growing up, everything from Tupac to Erykah Badu to Frank Sinatra and Etta James. Like there's so many genres that I was in. Bob Marley, like it was just everything from like everywhere. My mom went through a major phase where like all that we listened to was AC/DC. So like it definitely, I think for me as an artist then I definitely had a lot to choose from because I didn't have one genre that I really listened to growing up, and that was it, right? But also, I don't know, I have such an affinity for like soul blues, and I wanted to make it a little bit more modern. I grew up playing trumpet in a jazz, or not trumpet, sorry, trombone in a jazz band. So I really love also jazz music. So I try to bring in all these different elements of all the genres that I grew up listening to into the music that I have now. And I'm excited to see how that then develops over time and how I can continue to incorporate these genres in different ways that still falls under the umbrella that I've currently created. But again, just wanting to kind of make this melting pot, and it just kind of turned into what it turned into. So what's next for me is, like I said, I have my next release, Faith, coming out on November 13th. So that will be the 5th song off of my Godless EP. And then I'll be releasing the EP in full at a not yet disclosed date. There'll be some goodies that kind of come along with that as like a formal EP release. So that's the immediate next step of everything that's happening. Currently, I am writing the songs for my next EP. Working on trying to find some way of doing some sort of gigs, whether they be virtual shows or it be socially distant set. There's quite a few artists that are being very creative with how they're actually getting their music out there and trying to live amongst this new normal. So just trying to kind of find my path that way. Obviously, when I decided to put out music, I did not plan that there would be a global pandemic involved. So it's definitely been a big learning curve trying to readjust all my expectations and all my plans to fit what this new normal is. But yeah, so in the next year, you can expect to see another EP from me, hopefully some live shows happening, and definitely by the end of this year, you'll have 5 songs from the Godless EP.
I sold my soul to the devil. He said, honey, you'll be in good hands. When the righteous ways destroy your faith, you can't be blamed for where you land. So go on and judge my ways. I'll see you on Judgment Day. I'm not God, let's just talk to God.
Fortunately, since the pandemic started, the number of domestic violence cases has skyrocketed. So in so many ways, both in that on the literal level of what the song is written about, but also what was happening socially, it just seemed like it was something that people could relate to then more than ever. And so that's why I ultimately decided to release that song. And then once I released one, it just made sense to release all of them. And then Godless came out with the elections coming up. Literally kind of just about everything that's happening now with that. So it just felt really relevant. It didn't feel like the best time in the way that I can't gig. I hadn't necessarily gotten all my ducks in a row as to how to release music in a pandemic, but I just kind of decided to just go for it, just again because I felt like now was the time when people could potentially relate to the music the most. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Rayana Ragan. You can find me on YouTube, Rayana Ragan. I wish I had a little sign to hold up. But yeah, everything is just at Rayana Ragan. Nice, plain, easy. Mainly Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Also on Facebook. I don't use that one as much, but I do some virtual shows on there. So you can follow on there to see me cross-post as virtual shows come about. My name is Rayana Ragan, and you've just been buzzed.